All right, chat. I want to talk about a subject that's a little bit more on the serious side. It's something that when I saw it, I was just like, this is insane to me. There is a video, a viral video involving the situation, and I will not be showing the video. The video is very, very hard to watch. Very, very hard to watch. So I will not be playing the video in this video, but if you want to see it, it's out there. You can look it up. So a lot of you guys know I'm a bit of a mental health advocate. I've been very outspoken with my own struggles with mental health. I've always been a firm believer that like when you talk about this stuff, it could potentially help someone else who's struggling with it. I know like when I first started to realize that I was dealing with these issues, seeing other people who talked about it, and were very open with it, it kind of helped me feel a little less alone in my struggle, right? So I always appreciated that. And so, like, I've always been really open with my own struggles with mental health. Having said that, that's part of the reason why this story that we're about to talk about on the HuffPost here really kind of infuriated me in a way. What exactly are we talking about here? We have this article. The headline says South Carolina man sues police after being shot 47 times during a mental health crisis. Essentially, what we got here is we have a situation where a man was on the verge of suicide. He was literally having a mental breakdown, a mental health crisis. He was in the midst of a mental health crisis. His mom was with him trying to stop him from hurting himself. Mom called the police to kind of like, hey, I need some help. My son's suicidal. I need you guys to help, me talk him off the ledge, essentially, right? So what do the cops do? The cops pull up to the scene, and instead of like trying to talk this guy off the ledge, they instead light up his truck with mom still right next to the truck. Mom's kind of like next to the truck trying to talk her son out of taking their own life. And like, while the mother's still in danger, and while we're dealing with somebody who's very mentally unstable, just lights him up in a barrage of like gunfire. It is the most insane fucking thing ever. Anyway, let's go ahead and let's take a look at the article. It says a man is suing a sheriff's office in South Carolina, saying deputies shot at him nearly 50 times when he was having a mental health crisis in a parked truck with a shotgun in his lap, even though he says his hands were raised. Okay, so according to this guy, his hands were raised. He wasn't threatening them with the gun or anything like that. According to him, to be fair, this is just him saying it. We don't know what actually happened. You can't see very well in the video. You can't see into the cab of the truck to see what he's doing. But again, we're talking about somebody who a wellness check was essentially called for this guy. And instead of like trying to resolve the situation by trying to talk him off the ledge, instead they shot him. Like, what the fuck, right? Trevor Molinax, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, survived. That's the most shocking thing about this. They shot nearly 50 rounds in his direction, and he survived. That is beyond a miracle at this point. Survived being hit 9 times on May 2021, with 3 rounds to the head, according to the lawsuit filed against the York County Sheriff's Office earlier this month. The 4 sheriff's deputies, started shooting only a few seconds after arriving on the scene and yelling hands several times, as seen in the police dash cam video released by Molyneux's lawyers. The barrage lasted at least 5 seconds, leaving the pickup windshield riddled with bullet holes. It's true. They literally pulled up, and within mere moments of getting out of their squad cars, they just start shooting, right? Their claim, as I'm pretty sure the article will say, their claim is that he waved the gun at them. He's saying that didn't happen. And again, in fairness, in the interest of charitability, we don't see that, right? We can't see through the windshield in the video to see if he pulled the gun on them. But he's saying he didn't. He's saying he raised his hands, all right? Those officers went out there like John Wayne cowboys. They came out there like gunslingers, attorney Justin Bamberg said in a news conference today. Prosecutors reviewing the case did not charge the 4 deputies who shot at Molyneux. Each officer gave a statement to investigators 11 days after the shooting, after reviewing body camera and other footage. The officers said in those seconds they thought Molyneux was getting ready to flee. Then they saw him reach back in the truck's rear seat, grab the shotgun, and point it at them, according to State Law Enforcement Division report of the shooting. So he's saying he did not point the gun at him. He's saying he raised his hands. They're claiming he did point the gun at him. And again, in the interest of charitability, we don't know. We can't tell in the video. All I'm saying is This was a situation that was involving somebody who was in the midst of a mental health crisis. And like, the moment they pulled up to the scene, they just start shooting the fucking guy. Not only endangering him, but also his mother, who's literally standing right next to the truck as they lit it up. Like, it was insanely reckless, in my opinion. Molyneux's mother, Tammy Beeson, said she'd been trying to comfort her son after he threatened to kill himself. She was standing by the driver's side window when the officers opened fire. Literally, like, they didn't even make an attempt to say, ma'am, step away or nothing like that. Just start shooting while she's right there in the line of fire. She wasn't wounded, but deputies handcuffed her, wailing and clearly distraught, less than minutes after the shooting. 2 deputies hustled her away as she cries, "What are they going to do with my son?" Obviously, she probably thought in that moment her son was dead. I mean, they riddled his truck with bullets. So, like, you can imagine how shocked that mother would be in that moment, right? The video begins with deputies driving up to Molyneux's truck parked on his family's land near Rock Hill on May 7, 2021. A family member called 911 because Molyneux was threatening to kill himself. He said, "We're just trying to get our buddy some help," and gave the operator the cell phone number for him and his mother, according to the 911 call. The deputies never called either of them. So they were given the phone number of this guy to try and talk him off the ledge. You know, sometimes in situations like this, somebody will call and they'll speak to the person in question and try to calm them down. No effort of that was made, apparently. They made no effort whatsoever to reach out to this person and try and talk them off the ledge. Unbelievable. So the deputies never called either of them, driving to the truck after Molyneux's grandfather told them where it was located. There were 47 shots fired. The video shows 2 deputies pull a bleeding Molyneux out of the truck and handcuff him. "You're not a death squad. You're supposed to try to help people, even if you've got to shoot them." They handcuff this man with 3 bullets in his head, and then they handcuff his mama. Treat her like a criminal. This is disgusting. And I would agree. Molyneux's mother told investigators hours after the shooting it appeared her son might be reaching for a gun. According to the medical records obtained by state investigators, Molyneux told a doctor at the hospital he was talking to his mother about getting help when officers arrived, and when they arrived suddenly, he reached for his gun so they would shoot him because he didn't have the courage to do it himself. He said he couldn't say why he changed his mind from seeking help to wanting to die. Molyneux was the only person charged in 2021 shooting and faces 1 count of pointing and presenting a firearm, a felony with a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison. At the time of the shooting, Molyneux had a warrant for his arrest on a different charge, but his lawyer said that burglary charge was dismissed and there are no court records of it. Molyneux couldn't have a gun legally because he was a felon, York County Sheriff Kevin Tolson said at a news conference Wednesday where he took no questions. If a suspect pulls a weapon on a man or woman wearing a badge that says York County Sheriff's Office, the situation is not going to end well, Tolson said. Police officers shouldn't have to handle people in a mental health crisis or other duties piled on them daily and shouldn't be second-guessed after they are cleared by investigators, the sheriff said. My biggest problem when it comes to situations like this is like, look, we've got police officers responding to mental health checks, right? This is a situation that unfortunately cops have to respond to. And I don't think that they have adequate training of any kind for dealing with these types of situations. Because if we have a situation where they're responding to a wellness check and their immediate instinct is to open fire on the guy, I'm sorry, that means that you were poorly trained to do your job, in my opinion. And keep in mind, I want to make this clear. I'm not one of these like ACAB people, the all cops are bad crowd. I think there's plenty of people in law enforcement that are just there to protect and serve their community and do a damn good job doing it. I want to make that crystal fucking clear. I'm not one of these anti-police folks, all right? Having said that, I don't think this situation was handled very well. I genuinely don't. For those of you who are out there making snap judgments about the actions of police officers, hiding behind a computer screen with your thumb, courage on Facebook, Instagram, the York County Sheriff's Office is hiring deputies every day. put in an application so you can see firsthand what a police officer faces Tolson says. So this guy's like he's kind of being a dick about this situation, right? People are understandably upset about what they see in that video. And instead of responding like a professional, he's like, well, if you can do a better job, why don't you apply for a position? It really comes off as like very dickish. Like he's being a jerk. Molly's mother said it was hours before anyone told her that her son survived the shooting. She says she no longer trusts the police and flinches every time she sees a police cruiser. I wonder if that's the one who almost killed me that day, or that's the one who tried to kill my son that day. Molyneux says he hates what his mental crisis turned into, but if it helps one single person in this world to not have to go through what me and my family have, I'm okay with it. So, again, I'm not one of these like anti-cop people that thinks all cops are bad or anything like that, but I think this situation wasn't handled correctly. I understand that police officers have to make snap judgments in the moment. I totally get that. It's not an easy job to do, whether people want to pretend it is or not. But having said that, if you're responding to someone who is having a mental health crisis, I don't think the first action that should be taking place is opening fire on them instantly as soon as you arrive on the scene. I think police officers need better training when it comes to dealing with people who are in the midst of a mental health crisis like this. I just don't think they're adequately trained enough to properly deal with these types of situations.